was asked to talk on this, I felt I am not the right person because I belong to, as you might say, a different era. I am a print journalist with 40 years experience in the field. So when I came into say 20 years of my career, I thought by around this time, I'll be a well-known journalist like, say, G.K. Reddy of the Hindu, or, some of these investigative journalists like Arun Shourie. But today I stand before you completely overwhelmed by digital media, by the growth in the media itself, and as the topic aptly describes, we are now in a journalism in digital age is tough, fact or fiction. So what I propose to do is, draw on some of my experiences to tell you how difficult or how challenging digital journalism is. Whenever I talk to people or open WhatsApp, I always am confronted with lots of information, lots of views, lots of videos, lots of opinions that are, believe it or not, are in Ripley fashion, as they say. Now, what to believe or what not to believe is become a big task for many of the, ordinary readers or ordinary viewers. So, to begin with, I would like to refresh all of you. Some of you might be knowing, or those who do not know, the basic features of journalism. What is journalism? Who is a journalist? And what is the practice of journalism? So I will draw on my past experience and give you a few trends that perhaps you should carefully listen to. Now, the first trend is journalism as it was practiced, say, up to 1990, wherein the print and television and radio were the main, modes of communication. And how was journalism practiced? It was a news reporter who went to the field, who collected information. Then there was a sub-editor in the paper who edited it. Then there was a news editor. Then there was an editor. So this entire exercise, what we call as gatekeeping, was practiced. Therefore, the news that was published the next day was more or less, to the best of the abilities, authenticated and reliable. And then there was this only visual element in that entire exercise was a photographer. And the photographer went to the place of action and captured a picture. And if most of you might recall or know that a photograph is considered to be worth 1,000 words. The reason being, the photographer tried to capture all the elements of the action that happened there, and therefore it was worth, having many elements and many information in that entire picture. Now, the basis for all this and reporting were the 5 W's and H, which I think most of you will be knowing. So, in any report, these 5 W's and H were answered to the best of ability. So, therefore, you had I think 2-3 decades of information flow which adhered to a certain trend, certain parameters, certain style and structure. Therefore, the final product in the newspaper was reasonably reliable information. Now, the second trend came with the television era, TV. And, TV did this live capture of information, and we got into what is called live, telecast. Now, live telecast, in a sense, showed that, whatever happened was directly telecast. But even in that era, the scope for editing was also there, because before it was shown live, there was a chance of, showing different views and also, giving balanced opinion about what is happening in that place. So the second trend what I saw is the television bringing in more and more immediate information in visual format. Here, the camera had a important role to play because the cameraman or the editor or the person who wanted the information to be covered could focus on whatever he or she wanted. So the large picture could be narrowed down to a very small picture which you wanted to. So you could, in a way, change the importance or significance of a news. For example, in a largely attended crowd, you could show only some sections where there were less people, or the reverse of it. So the camera had a different, impact and role. Now, the third thing that happened was the most important for all of us, which is the Google era or the search engine and internet which came in 2000. And from here began what we call as the instant kind of news and also the rise of citizen journalists. And many of you know about citizen journalism. But again, in citizen journalism, also with the use of a telephone or a camera, any person could, capture an event and send it to a publication. Here, the publication had a role in terms of moderating the story and, ensuring that the credibility or cross-checking was taking place. So the citizen journalism also in a way helped mainline journalism to improve and credibility or communication was improved. But the fourth and most important thing that has completely disrupted journalism is what we are today discussing. This is the digital era wherein the communication has become everyone's tool. Now today all of us are, call ourselves journalists in this hall especially, and there are many people outside who are also writing whatever they feel. And the modes of communication for this are the social media platforms. And social media platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, blogs, vlogs, websites, there are so many ways in which communication is now being spread. And the challenge of digital communication is multifold. People like me who have finished a lot of print have now realized the advantages of digital medium in terms of communicating and also reaching wider audiences. But the flip side is the entire digital landscape is plagued with the problem of gatekeeping. Now, some person who wants to communicate, he can create a YouTube channel, then cover an event and give his opinion. So this opinion, whether it is correct, whether it is agenda driven, whether it is adhering to the format of journalism, is what is the biggest challenge before us. Now, do we call ourselves journalists if we do not follow the principles as I enunciated in the beginning, or we are just communicators? And how do you ensure that what you cover is correct or what is fake? So this coverage, has been helped in a way by technology, especially these big technology companies which are providing, tools that can be easily utilized to create stories, communicate, to also manipulate in a sense, as we were discussing the Google algorithm is so finely tuned that it can generate a lot of you know speed with which the stories are spread. But what the biggest damage that most of this technology has done is im- impacting the mind in a way that news consumption is fast changing. So this is where I think professional journalists need to be very careful and bring in a lot of changes so that you have a structure wherein information is filtered, information is verified, information is fact checked, and then put in public forum. All this can be done even at a speed which in the challenge and demand in the public is there. So what I would feel is most of you who want to take up video journalism, get into YouTube, please look at collecting information and ensuring that you follow some of these guidelines wherein the information that is put out is more reliable and does not inflame or does not cause social disruption and all that. So in a nutshell, the biggest challenge that all of you will now face is news versus perception. What we, most of the journalists of the past, followed was, covering news as it happened. But today, what we are now forced to do is create a perception. So YouTube, people are having YouTube channels are all challenged to get lot of views, lot of followers, lot of subscribers. Therefore, you tend to get into creating a perception. And there are many forces like political parties, corporations, those who are interested in pushing their agenda, trying to use these individual YouTubers or individual freelance journalists to push their own agenda, and you get into their game. So please do not follow or fall into this kind of a trap. Follow some ethics, take care of the information that you get, edit it, and then put it in public platform. And some of the data that I wanted to share is the internet in 2019. Just to give a glimpse of what it was in 2019, in a minute, the Facebook had 1 million people logging on it. There were 18.1 million texts sent. YouTube had 4.5 million videos viewed. Then there were 390,000 apps downloaded. There were 87,500 people tweeting. 188 million emails were sent. 1 million views on Twitch. 41.6 million messages. 4.8 million GIFs served. Netflix had 694,444 hours watched, and 3.8 million search queries were on Google in 2019. Now, if you look at 2023, you can multiply it by 3 to 5 times. So we are living in a highly internet overload, and the chances of getting fake information or information that is already changed or tweaked to meet a certain agenda are very, very high. And there are people like Rakesh in the auditorium today who I'm sure will tell you how to fact check and how to filter out all this information. You would be very well served, I think, with good speakers during the next 3-4 hours. Please, listen to them carefully and understand. I would also love to be a listener and learner in this whole exercise. And finally, after the Gutenberg invention of the printing press, which completely changed the way reading, learning, knowledge has been spread. The uh, second biggest invention is the internet, and internet has changed the whole thing into a very very serious, very dramatically useful information tool. So we should be very careful in utilizing this technology, which is double edged, which can be used both for our own growth as well as to create problems. Thank you very much.